بحكي معك الكابتن جولان من الجيش الدفاعي الإسرائيلي.
أهلين.
أنت وين موجود حاليا؟
المشروع عند أهلي أخوي.
Inside cramped, soundproofed rooms in central Israel, one of the most ambitious and decisive projects of this current war in Gaza is taking place. The displacement of more than 1.5 million people, first from the north to the south of the Gaza Strip, then from Khan Yunis to Massawi and to Rafah.
وين بالضبط أنت في خان يونس؟
خان يونس حي الياباني الإماراتي.
There are two main goals to this project. First, avoid endangering civilians and prevent innocent people who are not involved in this conflict from being harmed. Then, it's a question of emptying the area of civilians still present, leaving only the Hamas terrorists.
اسمعني، هاي الرسالة مهمة من أجل سلامتك وسلامة عيلك. أنا بطلب منك إنك تخلي فوراً لجنوب خان يونس للملاجئ المعروفة في المشفى عندكم.
لا مش موجود بالشمال، طلعت من الشمال رحت على الجنوب على منطقة المواصي عند شو اسمه اللواء تاع الوكالة.
ممتاز، كل عيلتك موجودة هناك؟
كل عيلتي طلعت كل عيلتي. الله يخليك.
بارك الله.
So he listened to you and went south.
Yes.
For those of you who like numbers, the conversation with John Doe, the unknown Palestinian from Khan Yunis, is one of over 50,000 telephone calls made to Gazan residents since the war began. They're added to the 12 million voice messages, as well as 14 million text messages recorded and cataloged. And it's all happening here in this room, behind these screens, the agents of Unit 504.
Unlike previous operations, where we also had to move civilians, these conversations are much friendlier this time, and they often thank us for taking care of them and helping them move. They know what's going on, because this is in their best interest, and it protects them, keeps them alive. I remember one time we called the family to ask them to move south, and they said that that's what they wanted to do, but Hamas prevented them from leaving and shot at them. Thanks to this contact, we received the exact position of the Hamas terrorists. Then we sent a drone to fly over the area, and we actually saw 4 terrorists there, Hamas people, blocking the Salah ad-Din road. We opened fire and eliminated them, allowing Palestinians' families to continue their evacuation south. He thanked us.
مش تحت ايد عامل مش نخرب نحاول نطلع من البيت لان احنا من يوم الحرب لليوم ما بقينا نطلع
لا حد يسألكم
احنا في بيتي احنا ما بخلونا نطلع برا بيتي
مين قالك هيك؟
هم كانوا التنظيمات بيمنعونا ما بخلونا نطلع من البيت
فرجني وين هم موجودين واحنا احنا بنحل مشكلة وينهم موجودين؟
ما حد بيصل عند صلاح الدين جابوا صلاح الدين بتقعدوا برجعونا ممنوع
هذول جماعة الحماس بس انت عارف واحد منهم بالاسامي بالاشي وين موجودين؟
انا بقدر احكي معهم وانا ما بقدر احكي معهم لانه بيطلعوا لك بالمعبر بقول لك انت ممنوع ترجع خطر له بيتك.
This story reflects a large part of the daily reality of this unit, handling assets and intelligence sources on the other side of the enemy lines. Over the past 2 months, the unit has joined the IDF's war effort, even though it's not the unit's natural environment. In parallel to the intelligence gathering through the field agents, Unit 504 must attend to the Palestinian civilian population's needs and their transport to the south of the Gaza Strip.
We use different colors each time we distribute a new leaflet, so they know there are new guidelines.
Here, in addition to telephone calls, there's format and print. They have even invented a system for the optimal distribution of leaflets above the neighborhoods of Gaza. The text on these leaflets asks residents to leave the area.
Here's one we've already sent. This one was for Khan Yunis.
How many actually follow these guidelines?
They follow them very closely. We even put a central command barcode on it that links you to a map. Interactive evacuation.
High tech.
Completely high tech.
اسمع أنا بدي تطلع من البيت وتروح لشرق غزة لبلدة القديمة لمدرسة صلاح الدين. أوكي؟
وفورا لانه بعد شوي في كثف شديد. حماس شو بيعمل بالمنطقه اللي انت ساكن فيها؟
على الطلاق ما بنشوف حدا فيهم يفضع عرضهم، كلهم متخابين واحنا اللي بنموت قاعدين.
يعني الكل تحت الشرع بالنفط صح؟ والله ما بنعرف وين هم حط.
والله يا زلمه عارف المشكله انه احنا قاعدين بنموت وهم اللي بيعيشوا، وحظ الله ما بنشوف وجههم حتى. بس اختم ولا شرموطه يفضع عرضهم نكبونا ونكبوا غزه معانا.
اذا واحد بيطلع ضد حماس بقتلوه؟ هذا قصدك؟
طبعا انت بتفكر في حد بيقدر يحكي كلمه او حد يطلع في الشارع يقول ايش تسوي حماس؟ بتتدمر يا عمي، بتموت الناس، انت بتعرفهمش كيف في غزه قد حالهم هذول وما بتعرف لهم وجه من قفا.
Who are you calling on?
People who have influence, such as religious leaders, school principals, doctors, community leaders, etc.
Without naming names, I can cite the case of a family who was in conflict with Hamas and who was very interested in being evacuated. But the Hamas men stuck to them and even wanted to turn their house into a fortified position. But they wouldn't let them do it. The whole neighborhood came out chasing them.
After the men of Hamas?
Yeah.
Really? But we can say that these are only the first signs?
Sort of.
A popular uprising against Hamas?
Yes.
To fully understand what is happening in Gaza, we took the opportunity to speak to some Khan Yunis residents.
ليش المساعدات حرامية؟ يعني في هناك عناصر حماس اللي عم ياخذوا من هذا الأكل من المساعدات الإنسانية.
أكيد ما هم وين حماس وين موجودة، وين بتكون موجودة بتخرب.
بس هذا المكان هو للمساعدات الإنسانية.
ما هو حماس يا سيدي العزيز، حماس حاطة إيدها على كل حاجة عشان تبقوا أنتم فاهمين. حماس حاطة إيدها على موظفين الوكالة، هم القيادات في رئاسة الوكالة.
يعني ما عم يعطوا المدنيين ولا أي غذاء؟
بيعطوا خصاتهم بالأول.
ولين الوكالة كمان عم يتعاملوا مع حماس؟
سيدي موظفين الوكالة هم حماس.
موظفين الوكالة هم حماس؟
هذه حاجة بعيدة عنكم، بس هي أكيد مش بعيدة عنكم. اللي ماسك يعني رؤساء الأقسام أو هم نفسهم من أعضاء حماس.
Most of the activities of this unit have nothing to do with this type of telephone interview with simple Gazans, but rather with those who hold information of great importance, and sometimes they're worth more than gold. Have you received the cell phone numbers of Hamas members?
Among others.
Why do they do it?
Some act out of revenge, others understand that the end of Hamas is approaching, and others for pure profit, money or other things, like leaving Gaza.
When you receive a phone call from a member of Hamas or the Nukhba force, are you surprised?
For a member of the enemy forces to call and offer to work for us is not something usual. However, we are not in a normal period. All the data has changed. For them, the rules of the game have completely changed. Suddenly, the IDF enters the hospitals. It destabilized them. They suddenly understood that they are no longer safe anywhere in Gaza.
Were you able to get closer to Sinwar?
No. However, we have gathered a lot of information for the utmost importance, like the position of Hamas forces on the ground, the precise location of the ambushes, or entrances to tunnels, or booby-trapped houses. This is very important information that we process immediately, and then we pass the information obtained during these conversations to our dealing officers who are present at the various headquarters, who themselves pass them on to the command of the forces on the ground or the Air Force, which will bomb the intended target.
One thing is certain, most of the information collected comes from terrorists who surrendered to IDF forces or who were taken prisoner during the fighting. They undergo a first interrogation led by the officers of the unit. Other prisoners are taken by Shin Bet, the Israeli Internal Intelligence Service.
بعدوا 80 90 100 بيصلوا 100
لمين؟
مخربين لحماس وجهاد.
Those are the type of individuals which the Special Military Intelligence Unit deals with. Gazan civilians who provide real-time information, as well as positions of Hamas forces on the ground.
الفرشة يكون جواتها قاذف اللي هو روكت أو قذائف أو كلاشينات. هذا اللي أنا وجدت كتاب بسام محتمين في المستشفى 100 نفر.
عاملين نظام خيم تحويطات كل مجموعة لحال 4 أو 5 أنفار كل مجموعة لحال قاعدين.
I think many people in Gaza disagree with the horrors committed on October 7 by Hamas. It does not represent them. They understand that this time things are different, that the limits of horror have been outdated, and that is shocking and not representative of their cause. On the other hand, given the importance of the Israeli reaction, they understand that the end of Hamas is closer.
And you think this understanding is starting to spread in Gaza?
I think so. The first thing they want is safety, not to be harmed. They let us protect them and their family. They want a better future, and they are out there out of pure self-interest, out of a search of self-protection and protecting their loved ones. And it is also for the day after, when they want us to help them get out of Gaza.
There are terrorists from Hamas or other organizations there who provide information about people whom they fought against us just a couple of days earlier, a phenomenon which comes very naturally and largely from Gaza. Unlike what you might think, we didn't try to recruit people at all costs.
Is there one conversation that you remember most?
A member of the Nakba,
who participated in October 7 massacres.
He hasn't admitted yet, but he says he knows the location of the tunnels. On the other hand, he has already precisely indicated to us an entrance to the tunnel. Another even more interesting case is that of a young man from Gaza who immigrated as a refugee to Europe. He, unlike the others, really did everything he could to get in touch with us and give us information. And he doesn't ask for anything in return. Others are very clear and tell you what they expect for the information.
Because he hates Hamas?
Because he hates Hamas. And this is where we begin to notice a certain current. Something important has changed.
And if those conversations hadn't convinced you, watch this video. It's quite simply a map filmed by one of the Gazans newly recruited by Unit 504.
We requested and obtained these VR videos filmed in 360 degrees. We created an all-round model of the strip and sent straight to the IDF ground forces in Gaza to ensure secure entry.
So where am I now?
There, in the Shajaiya district. If you turn your head to the right or to the left, you can see the whole city.
What does it look like now?
It's a little flatter.
Do we have the same data from South Lebanon, Beirut, Damascus?
Our viewers can be reassured.
To carry out our attacks and help our forces on the ground, we must constantly find the pieces of the puzzle that we're missing. The address of a terrorist, his habits, where he is in real time, etc. We receive information from civilians spread across Gaza. When we receive the necessary details, we forward them to our colleagues at Amman Military Intelligence. They decide what to do with it so it is processed as quickly as possible and the Air Force can attack and destroy the target.
We cannot help but ask the question, where were you on the morning of October 7th? You, who were supposed to know everything.
This question has haunted us ever since, but for the moment, we are focusing on the war effort and the battle we face. However, they will have to find all the answers to these questions when the time comes.